Cheers and welcome into the Bitcoin Crypto Happy Hour. I am the Crypto Bull God. Welcome in, Crypto Ryan. I'm doing fucking fantastic. How are you doing? Welcome into like the 30th edition of the Bitcoin Crypto Happy Hour. Glad to have you guys here. This has the potential to be a very lively discussion. I think this will be a little less charting and a little bit more discussion on some educational content, as well as some really fun content surrounding Kevin O'Leary and the Federal Reserve and whether or not they're fucking us over or not. So welcome in. If you are new to the channel, I'm glad to have you here. If you're returning, glad to see you. Like Brian, what's up, brother? Yo, welcome in. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon for notifications, and drop me a comment, because why? I love engaging with everyone. So hope everyone's having a good week. Like I said, cheers earlier. I actually cannot tell you what I'm drinking. I cannot tell you what I'm drinking this evening. And the reason is because I am entering a holiday drinking contest with a certain bull goddess. And the premise behind the contest is who can make the best holiday drink. So what I've been trying to do is fine-tune this holiday drink here. I've been between like two different types of drinks for the holidays, and I think I have my alcohol base and what I want the drink to taste like, and so now it's just fine-tuning it, and then I have to get the presentation down. But so I can't tell you what I'm drinking, but please share. This is a happy hour, so whether you're drinking water or whether you're fucking drinking whiskey right out of the bottle, you can share it here on the live stream. We're all here for each other, so feel free to share it. Hope everyone's having a good week. It's funny this morning. I don't know what you guys were up to this morning, but every morning I go into the gym, I work out. It's the greatest start to the day I could ever possibly have. I would encourage anyone here who does not work out to get on top of their game and start working out. Really gets the endorphins going and gets your day off to a good start. You know what I found funny and comical this morning is when I was leaving the gym parking lot, and I don't know how often this happens to you, but possibly you can relate to this. I have someone driving by in an SUV with tinted windows, and they're honking the horn, and I can see a hand waving. I had no clue who that person is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have tinted windows, really dark tinted windows, and you wave to someone on the outside, you can see the hand waving, you have no clue who it is. So I waved to the person, and I literally said, I don't know who the fuck you are. And I waved. I don't know who that person was, but I waved to them. I don't know. I find that funny. I don't know if you can really relate to that. Other comical things that happened to me this week. I'm trying to think of like how this week's been going for me, besides the fact that this week personally has been a blur for me. The work week has been a little bit more busy than normal. I've had like a lot of little ad hoc things come up that have been really keeping me busy, but actually took a couple hours of vacation time yesterday so that I could get some things done, and I still had time to release a TA video yesterday on Digibyte, if you haven't caught that. But other things that happened this week, I would say the other thing that comes to mind is, without getting into too many details, I locked myself out of my place. That was fun. And I met a really nice resident that lives in the area who helped me out. And he was really chill, really cool. He actually didn't need to, but kept me company while I was waiting for the locksmith to get here. Paid $200. $200 for a locksmith to open up a fucking door. Best job ever. Need to quit being an actuary. Need to pick up the locksmith business, because apparently you can charge $200 for 20 minutes. But this dude was like super nice, and I actually just right before this live stream, I ran up and gave him a thank you gift for waiting outside with me and helping me out, let me use his phone. Dude gave me his phone and was walking his dog around the apartment complex and allowed me to use his phone and just have his phone on me while I was waiting for a call back from the locksmith. So there are good people out there. I would say that is a rarity to meet someone that nice and kind. But I always try to take the positive out of everything, right? You have something bad happen, you get locked out. You also have something good happen, and you have people give a thumbs up on your video, because I don't see many thumbs up right now. Can you click the thumbs up for me to help me out? Thank you very much. But no, you have really good people out there, and I always try to take the positive out of situations. And so I met a really nice guy, and he's really chill and helped me out, and I appreciated his help. So, we are here not for the fluff. We are here for the crypto stuff. That is the extent of my rapping. It ain't easy being cheesy. All right, like I said, I'm trying to keep these live streams a little bit shorter. I see a few more people joining. Welcome in. I'm glad you're here. Are you a Digibull? Do I have some Digibyte fans in the room? So anyway, I wanted to get into the agenda today. There's a couple things in all seriousness I wanted to speak to. One of them you really want to pay attention to. One of them I really feel like I could help to educate you on and explain things in a way that may benefit you in a material way. It has the potential to help you in a material way going into 2023, and it has to do with taxes. So the conversation of taxes, when you just say taxes, it's boring as shit. I get it. It's why I'm not an accountant, okay? Nothing against accountants, okay? I'm an actuary. It's on the surface, being an actuary is pretty fucking boring. But I really have a potential to help you guys out if you're willing to listen. And the subject is around tax harvesting, okay? DCF, welcome in. Thumbs up. I've got massive buy limits on Harmony at 0.0058. Boy, oh boy, I'm looking at a 40x minimum. Yeah, I think Harmony 1 has the potential to hit near $1, if not over $1. So I think that would be an awesome buy opportunity if you get it. Brian, you're in accounting and you hate it. Man, I didn't know you were an accountant. Interesting. You're in accounting. Well, then I'm curious, Brian, if you know what an actuary is. You should know what an actuary is. So, anyway, what is tax harvesting? So let's actually talk about some of the distinctions between stocks and crypto for you to understand this. Again, hopefully you find this interesting. You guys should be nerds like me, okay? If I was a stereotypical nerd and stereotypical actuary, I would be coming to you on this live stream with this. Now, this is me some of the day. This is Crypto Bull God in actuary full mode right here. But let's have a serious and honest conversation about taxes, because this could benefit you in the coming 2023 reporting year for 2022 taxes and beyond, okay? So one of the biggest distinctions between stocks and crypto is that how you are able to benefit, okay? How you're able to benefit from reporting tax losses, okay? So with stocks, one of the things that you can't do, you can't sell a stock and then buy it within, a matter of seconds or minutes. I believe there's a 24-hour period. So meaning if you sell a stock today at 3 p.m., you can't buy it tomorrow until 3 p.m., okay? Whereas with cryptocurrency assets, okay, or digital assets, you can sell it and buy it back immediately. Now, why is that a huge benefit, okay? Well, there's something called tax harvesting, which is at the forefront of my thumbnail here. So tax harvesting means if you've suffered a large loss within a crypto asset that you have purchased, let's say theoretically, you thought that SushiSwap was an awesome buy at $7 and it went down to $3, okay? Hypothetically, okay? And you suffered more than a 50% loss. Let's just keep it easy. Let's say you had $10,000 invested in SushiSwap. It went down 50% and you lost on paper. Now, you haven't sold your assets, but on paper, you're down 50%. You've lost $5,000. What you could do, sell everything. Just do a market sell. Just sell everything, okay? You now, essentially, by doing that sell order, you are reporting in the subsequent tax year, okay? In the subsequent year for the current tax year's reporting basis, you're reporting a net loss of $5,000. You can then immediately buy back. So in theory, now you could do limit orders and be a little bit more fancy, but if you do a market order, okay, your shares or number of tokens that you're holding for SushiSwap based on commissions might be a slight bit lower, just a small bit lower, but you should in theory be able to own the same amount of tokens to right now from doing that, sell and buy, Okay, so you own the same amount of tokens by selling it and buying it right back, and you've also now suffered a $5,000 loss that you can report on your taxes next year. Okay, I exercise this, and the reason I use Sushi Swap as an example, and I've been very transparent about this, Sushi Swap may be the worst, if not the worst, setup that I opined on last year, and it did not go according to plan. Maybe the worst one that worked out for me so far. Not to say it's not going to go much higher, because I still think it's going to go substantially higher. But to date, it's probably the worst one that I've said, hey, this is a great buy opportunity. It didn't turn out to be a great buy opportunity, right? So what I did in 2022, this year, is for my 2021 tax season, what I did is I did some tax harvesting. What I did is I took my Sushi Swap, okay? Let's say I own 10,000 units of Sushi Swap. I sold the Sushi Swap. I just sold it all, and then I bought it right back. So I still own the same amount of units this year that I did last year. But there's a taxable loss of 5,000 or 10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000, whatever the number was. That helped me out in terms of what my overall taxable gain and loss picture looked like. That's how you can benefit tax harvesting. And it's not until when your assets grow to a substantial value, when you have crypto assets that grow to a substantial value, tax harvesting can benefit you tremendously. For example, if you have $50,000 of taxable gains, okay, something that you've materialized, $50,000 in gains that you sold, but you can quickly sell and buy back the same crypto asset, and you own the same number of units, but you're reporting a $50,000 loss, well, guess what? You own this, listen to the benefit of this. You own the same number of units today than you did yesterday, same number of units, but now you've reported a $50,000 loss relative to a $50,000 gain. It washes out. You don't own any taxes on anything. Do you follow what I'm saying here? So this is why tax harvesting can benefit you tremendously. Now, this ends December 31st. You need to figure out if selling and buying back makes sense for you. And I will share with you the criteria by which you should base this decision on. And again, I want to preface this by saying you guys should know this by now. None of this is financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm giving you my own educated view, okay? I'm trying to share information with you that will be helpful, okay? So one of the things that you should consider before you do any potential tax harvesting, before you sell and buy back in, what is your investment thesis, okay? Are you planning on selling? Is this something you've been holding for a long time and you plan on selling next month? Or is this something you've been holding for a short period of time and you plan on trading it? Because one of the reason I bring this up, one of the other things you have to consider is what will be your tax rate between short-term versus long-term capital gains tax. Now, hopefully you know what the distinction is, but let me explain to you in layman's terms what the difference is between short-term and long-term capital gains tax is. Ideally, every investment that you would sell would be taxed at a long-term capital gains investment tax rate. A long-term capital gains investment tax rate is at 20%, meaning every dollar that you sell and gain, not what you've invested, but the gains that you've made. If you've made $100 or $1,000, that gain in your initial investment, okay, so if you invested $1,000 and you made $5,000, it's just the $5,000 that you made on the original $1,000. That $5,000 is taxed at 20%. So you own $1,000 and you get to keep $4,000, okay? Short term is a lot more, how should I say this? Ass raping in nature, okay? I don't know how else to say it, all right? So I'm just going to be blunt. So with short-term capital gains taxes, what they do is they tax you at your ordinary income tax rate. And so you actually, you can Google and say, based on your income, based on your ordinary income at your 9-to-5 job, where your tax rate falls, you take that income and you lump it in there, and it kind of tiers you up within that tax rate if applicable, and you'll figure out what income tax rate you pay. Now, for someone like myself, someone who is a high earner, okay, essentially what's happening is you're doubling your tax rate. So one of the things, excuse me. So one of the things I have to consider for myself is when I sell an investment, there is a monumental difference between the short-term and long-term capital tax rate. If I sell at a long-term capital tax rate, I'm paying 20%. If I'm selling at a short-term capital tax and I'm selling it in under 1 year, and that is the distinction. I'm sorry, I didn't clarify that earlier. 1 year is the distinction. So if you hold it 1 year or longer, it's long-term. If you hold it under 1 year, it's short-term. If it's short-term for me, I'm basically giving up 40% of what I've sold it at. If I've made $100,000, okay, but I didn't sell until, if I sold and it was under a year of holding that investment, but I made $100,000, I have to give to the government $40,000. Isn't that crazy? Now, I don't want to get into a theoretical, or not theoretical, I don't want to get into a conversation surrounding tax rates and how I think that it is legalized theft from the United States government, because you're already taxed when you go to your job and you're running the rat race from 9 to 5. Now they're taxing you on the investments that you're making and the risk profile and choices that you're choosing to invest in. They're now taxing you on that, okay? So one of the decisions that I had to make, okay? So one of the decisions that I had to make when I decided to tax harvest loss my sushi swap was when I sold it and bought it, I said, okay, ideally for my sushi swap, I'm going to write this off as X amount of loss, but I also had to consider the tax consequences of that, because what if I sell this in under a year? Well, I'm going to be taxed on a short-term capital gains tax rate. If I sell it more than a year, then I'm okay. Then I'm going to be selling it at a 20% tax rate. So these are all the things that you need to consider. You need to consider the size of the loss and how it fits into your overall gain loss sort of tax portfolio of what you're reporting and what you're comfortable with paying in the following tax year. You also have to consider that when you sell, if you decide to tax harvest loss something, you're going to have to wait at least 1 year to benefit from a 20% taxable rate. Okay, so you have to weigh the costs and benefits associated with a short-term capital tax rate and a long-term capital tax rate. You have to consider that. So, yeah, and we could look, guys. We could have and let me know if something about this does not make sense. Okay, let me know if something about this does not make sense. If I'm not explaining myself well, because I really want you guys. I would say, and thank you for everyone new tuning in. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. I really mean this. Of any of the pieces of information that we're going to talk about today, anything that I'm going to cover today, this point that I'm making right now is the most important point that I really want you guys to understand. It's the way that I can help you most. I really want you to understand, hey, how could I potentially benefit from tax loss harvesting? Okay? Because, again, for me personally, when I reported my taxes this year, the fact that I was able to write off for me what was a moderate loss in Sushi Swap, okay, that tax harvesting definitely helped out how much money I ended up paying in taxes. I was able to look at, okay, gains, loss, okay? Well, I can write off all these gains and I'm going to owe a fuck ton less in taxes, okay? So it helped me out. But you have to discern that for yourself. You have 16 days to figure this out. If you want to sell something at a loss and write it off next year, or if you want to hold it, and that depends on what your investment strategy is, and your how long do you plan on holding this, and how comfortable are you with short-term versus long-term capital gains taxes, okay? The last point to keep in mind, as I'm waiting to see if anyone has any questions here on this topic, just to make sure that I'm making sense, is, again, this is the most critical thing I need you guys to understand in this entire live stream. The last thing I would help to educate you on, if you're not aware, is that when you do suffer a loss, let's say you suffer $10,000 in total when you look at your gains and losses in your tax reporting year. If you suffer $10,000 of losses, one of the benefits to this is that you are only able to report, and they really should they should refigure this number because of inflation. I mean, ultimately, the dollar has become devalued, and $3,000 today is not what it was years ago. But for some reason, it's still $3,000. It should probably be like $10,000, to be honest with you. But anyway, in any one tax year, of the $10,000 loss that you have next year that you're reporting for this year, you can account for $3,000 of that against whatever you owe in taxes. So let's say you calculate how much you owe in taxes and you're like, wow, I owe $1,000 in taxes. I have to, after I fucking slaved at work all day, I owe the government $1,000 in taxes more. Unbelievable. But, I suffered $10,000 in investment losses. I can account for $3,000 this year. So actually now the government owes me $2,000. The $7,000, that remaining, $10,000 minus the $3,000 that you accounted for this year, which is $7,000, you can take the $7,000 and carry it forward to next year. So let's say the following year you owe $3,000 in taxes. Oh my God, I'm in the whole $3,000. Well, guess what? I can account for $3,000 of a loss from a carryover. I owe nothing in taxes. Now $7,000 minus $3,000 is $4,000. So you carry $4,000 to the next tax year. So that is a benefit to it. But still, the fact that you owe taxes on any investment gains or loss, I mean, I think the whole thing is a fucking sham. I think it's just another way for the government to ass rape you in handing over more money. And it's just another means of control for the government in your everyday life. Again, this is why when I look at some of this regulation that doesn't make any sense and how they penalize investors for making decisions on their part to take the money they've already been taxed with. We've already been taxed with this money. We're taking it. We're investing it. We're doing our own due diligence and doing whatever the fuck. In fact, it's none of the government's business. I could take my money and hand it over to a fucking stripper, give it to a casino. I could invest it. I could do whatever the hell I want with my money. It's none of the government's business. I could gamble it away. But the government has a way to always just take their hand and fucking reach in and just want to fucking take the money out. And this is why the more that I educate myself on this stuff, it's more why I lean towards being a libertarian. Like if not to get political, because we're not going to. I'm not going down that path. But if I had to define myself in any way, in any political faction, I would say a libertarian. You know, I'm going to obey the laws. They're there for a reason, and leave me the fuck alone. And don't overreach, government. Please, you're there to protect and to oversee, but you're not there to overreach. So go fuck off if you're overreaching. That's kind of how I feel, in short. So, thumbs up button if you don't want the government to overreach. How about that? Thumbs up button if you don't want the government to overreach. And in fact, this is a good segue. This woman, I cannot stand. I cannot stand this woman. Now, there are a few people, and before any feminists come out and say I don't like her because she's a woman or whatever the case is, it has nothing to do. This person could be male, female. They could be straight, they could be bi, they could be white, they could be black, they could be tan. I don't really care. It has nothing to do with any of that. This individual is a person who is so ignorant to so much and has an agenda. I want you to just listen to this segment with me. I want you to listen. Let me know if the audio is causing an issue. I want you to listen to this segment to me, and we're going to get into Kevin O'Leary. Listen to this segment with me, please.
No. Right. Okay. So, Mr. O'Leary, I know that you are a big supporter of crypto, even after you lost $10 million in FTX's collapse. But you are an experienced investor. So let me ask you, do you believe that the potential benefits of crypto are so promising that we should accept weaker anti-money laundering rules and weaker compliance from crypto firms than we require from banks, from brokers, and from Western Union?
No, I think we should apply the same regulatory structure that we apply to existing trading of stocks and bonds on exchanges tied to broker-dealers. That is not complicated. It's already been implemented in other countries. And so, and I take issue, Senator, with your concept that it makes it easier to do money laundering. Currencies have been used for drug trafficking since the 60s in the American dollar when it was thrown out of a pipe or aircraft in a duffel bag. The American dollar is also used by bad actors all the time. The
Mr.
truth
O'Leary,
about
I appreciate your point that everyone tries
I'm
to
sure.
engage in money laundering. That's what terrorists do. That's what drug dealers do, and that's what states like Iran and North Korea have done. The only point I'm trying to make is, should the same rules against money laundering apply to crypto in the way that they apply to banks, to stockbrokers, to credit card companies, to Western Union? And I think your answer to that was yes. Is that right?
No.
Mr. O'Leary, you have 30 seconds. Keep your answer short.
You have 30
I'm
seconds.
just saying, if you know your client rules on both sides of the transaction and use a crypto such as USDC
What's up, Brendan?
that is regulated, you solve this problem, Senator, overnight.
Well, I appreciate that you want the same kind of rules to apply to everyone, and we can talk about what's needed to make that happen. The dark underbelly of crypto is its critical link to financing terrorism and human trafficking and drug dealing and helping rogue nations like North Korea and Iran.
Oh my
It
God.
doesn't get a pass to help the world's worst criminals, no matter how many television ads they run or how many political contributions they make. It is time for Congress to make the crypto industry follow the same money laundering rules as everyone else. That is why Senator Marshall and I introduced a bipartisan bill today.
So, okay. I want to say a couple things on this clip, and feel free to drop a comment. Part of me finds this humorous. Part of me finds this very funny. And believe me, we're going to get into Kevin O'Leary in a moment here. I am not defending Kevin O'Leary, although Kevin O'Leary in this respect, I appreciated what he had to offer and say. Okay. Part of me wants to laugh at what she's saying because I find it so utterly ridiculous. Like, it's just so utterly ridiculous that I can't believe anyone with any common sense or a level of intelligence would actually take this piece of shit seriously. This woman here with a side agenda, okay? She has an agenda, okay? She's not interested in listening to anyone. Clearly, you could tell based on this quick 2-minute segment. She had free reins to talk as long as she wanted, and he had 5 seconds to talk. She has no interest in listening to him. But the other part of me just, it's a personality type. Things that I am passionate about, I'm more of an emotional person. I'm very much more of an emotional person, okay? You never have to guess in life where I stand. You know exactly how I feel about you. That is the type of person I am. You're never going to have to be like, dude, I wonder what he's thinking. You fucking know what I'm thinking, okay? If I don't particularly care for you, you know it. If I love you, you know it, okay? And in this case, I am very passionate about cryptocurrency and the technology and the innovative, just everything that is innovative about it, that it brings to everyday life. And to have some ass clown in power, to have some sort of voice like she has that is completely ignorant and has a side agenda and is probably being paid off, quite frankly, from banks and institutions because they fear a lot of this technology, okay? It is very frustrating and disheartening. It's very frustrating and disheartening. She literally, I have never heard this woman speak. I've never heard a single speech by this woman where I agreed with what she was saying and I thought that it was very value added and sensical. She's always come out with garbage bullshit out of her mouth. This is the same woman who wants to tax us. I was just talking about taxes. This is the same woman that wants to tax us on unrealized gains. Meaning, if you appreciate the content, thumbs up. Meaning, if you hold $100,000 of assets, you haven't sold anything. You haven't sold a penny, but it doubled in value this year. Let's just say over the course of the past 12 months, it doubled in value. This fucking ass clown wants to tax you on $50,000. You made $50,000, right? You invested you had $50,000 on January 1st, right? And from January 1st all the way up to December 31st, it doubled in value. You made another $50,000, but you haven't sold it. You haven't sold anything. This fucking ass clown wants to tax you on $50,000 because this is all the government knows how to do. The only way the government knows how to make money is through taxation, which is, in my mind, in many ways, enslavement. That's how I view it. This person clearly has an agenda by which they do not want to see cryptocurrencies integrated into our everyday life, which is asinine for me. I have been on record stating this woman will look like a fucking idiot years from now. Because much like the internet and much like email and much like URL and all these what's the URL? All of this infrastructure within the World Wide Web, www, right? All this stuff that is at our disposal that we use every day, all the stuff in the background is the stuff that matters, but we aren't familiar with that. We just know how to go to a web page and click in www.cryptobulgad.com, which maybe I'll put up at some point, right? Email, we just know how to go in and type up an email and send it, but we don't know the protocol that actually operates it, right? It's the same thing with digital assets and cryptocurrency. Years from now, all this stuff is going to be integrated into our everyday way of living, but we're not going to think of it as cryptocurrency or digital assets. It's just a way of living. This woman, these comments, I'm telling you, a decade from now, we're going to look back on this and be like, wow, what a fucking moron. Like, really, what was she thinking? But this is the shit we have to contend with, and this is why regulation has been so slow. This is why regulation has been so slow, because of people like this that don't want to push things forward in a productive manner. I will go off on a side topic, and I don't want this live stream to go 5 hours. So curious on everyone's comments there, but let's get to Kevin O'Leary, and then we can get into the Federal Reserve. As you guys can tell, I get really passionate about this stuff. It just really frustrates me when you see what's on the horizon here. You know what's on the horizon, and you have people like this that are, they have agendas, okay? And they have financial incentives from people they know, friends they've made over the years. They have friends they've made over the years, and they don't want to see those friends lose power. And speaking of power, let's talk about Kevin O'Leary. This is a clip, and this is not a prop for Anthony Pompliano. I'm not a fan of Anthony Pompliano, okay? But this is a clip from CNBC, and I actually remember live when this was happening. I was watching it. This is 3 years ago. So this is back in 2019. And Kevin O'Leary essentially, let's just play the clip. Let's play the clip.
Get about half as scarce in the monetary schedule.
That sounds really exciting.
Hold on, I realize the video's not here. Hold on, let's play this clip here.
Historically, that's been a big moment in terms of really as a price driver because it reminds people that there's only 21 million of these.
It's just an arbitrary thing, right? Cut it in half in terms of units.
Preset every 4 years, basically the amount that is created every 10 minutes gets cut in half. So right now it's 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. In May 2020, it'll get cut to 6.25. So if you believe in scarce assets, that's a big moment, and we're about a year out from that. And then the other thing I'd say is I think that the trade war actually has a little bit to do with it, right? This idea that we're watching, essentially a trade war play out on Twitter. You look at a non-sovereign currency, and I think that there's some kind of safety.
Flip that around, though. If this trade war gets solved, does Bitcoin go down?
It could, right? I think that the big thing here is if you look at the macro trend, Bitcoin has seen 3 drawdowns over 80% in its lifetime in the last decade. But it is
funny to see Bitcoin at 8,000, right?
The others I draw is if you look at Amazon stock, right? So Amazon's drawn down over 90% twice. The intra-year drawdown is over 30% on average.
Perspective.
Right? So it's a pretty volatile stock in that sense.
Even though we're down, we're more than double that value 3 years ago.
What it continues to do is set new yearly lows, right? So don't look at the highs, look at the lows. And again, it's just supply and demand. If you have a scarce asset and demand increases,
Mr. Wonderful thinks it's worthless.
Well, I
call it garbage.
I want to explore the idea. I did say that. I want to explore the idea that there is nothing here except raw speculation. Mm-hmm. No different than when I go to Las Vegas and put my money on black or red on a roulette wheel. Because where is the intrinsic value inherent in deploying?
Now, okay, so I'm going to pause it there. We don't need to continue watching this, but the purpose of this video is back in 2019, Kevin O'Leary essentially came out later in the video. You guys can catch this on YouTube, but essentially he came out on CNBC and he called it crypto garbage. Okay, so he referred to it as crypto garbage in 2019. Now, shortly after this clip, I don't know if you guys remember, and I tried searching for this before the live stream and I couldn't locate it. A few years back before this, okay, and in this video, I should also acknowledge he seemed unknowledgeable. He seemed very unknowledgeable about crypto. But a video surfaced a few years before this where he was very knowledgeable about crypto and Bitcoin and spoke highly about it. So that would suggest that in this video, he's being very deceptive and he's lying to his audience that he's already aware of what this crypto garbage, is. Now, if we come to this clip here, this is in 2021, 2 years later. He's still saying he won't invest in Bitcoin. It's a giant nothing burger. Let's now flip to 2022. This is in March. Kevin O'Leary says he's put 20% of his portfolio in crypto, including tokens and blockchain firms. I want to explain this about Kevin O'Leary. Kevin O'Leary, to me, and I've come out and spoken to this before if you've been a longer-term follower of myself, I want to preface what I'm about to say with this. There are plenty of rich people who are financially successful, people who are very wealthy, who are some of the nicest people you will ever meet. They're very kind-hearted, and they worked very hard in their life, and they never allow greed to overtake them, and they still are humble. They're very humble, and I respect people like this. They've worked hard all their lives. They're humble, and they appreciate others. They're compassionate. They're empathetic. There's plenty of people out there like that. Okay, so I want to preface what I'm about to say with that. This guy is a stereotypical rich guy. He is an egotistical individual, and he has his pride to protect. The reason I wanted to speak about him is he's been back and forth and very disingenuous with his statements, okay? But it's all for the sake of covering his name. When crypto was taking a shit, he wanted nothing to do with it. When crypto was on a massive rise, he knows this and this about it, and he has 20% of his portfolio in it. And when FTX went to shit, how did he respond? And I don't have this pulled up. I thought I did, but I didn't have it pulled up. He was on trial before Congress and gave a testimony to them. And essentially, if you haven't caught it, you need to go on YouTube and watch it, okay? We're not going to watch any more clips here. But essentially, what he chose to do was he chose to attack Binance. That was what he chose to do. So it's very well known at this point. It's very well known, and I'm not going to spend any energy or time talking about it. This has been intentional. There's other YouTube channels if you guys want to watch that kind of stuff. Again, I'm subscribed to a very prominent channel that covers the news topics, and I watch it. I watch it, obviously. I've been subscribed for a while, but I often fast forward at this point through the SBF, FTX stuff. I'm tired of hearing about it. Okay, and I'm not going to cover a lot of stuff on this channel about that. I'm over it. I'm done with it. Okay, but it's interesting that the way he chose to approach the situation was he chose to. Oh, there's somebody in the chat that shouldn't be here. How can I kick this person out? Oh, we need to kick them out. Remove. Yeah, we don't want this person. Let's see. Hide. And that's going to be harassment. How about that? I'll choose harassment. Okay, we don't need that. Anyway, guys, you haven't been put on timeout. You've been kicked out forever. Anyway, the whole point of where I'm going with this is, and what's frustrating is this guy, because he has a lot of money, okay, and because he has a loud voice, he gets to be at the center stage of stuff. So even though it's a fact that it has been proven, okay, we're not going to debate this. I'm not going to open this up to debate and talk about it. SBF has been proven to be a habitual liar. He has a serious issue. Okay? This guy strikes me based on the facts that he's unable to confront his own demons and his own faults in life. And he has no accountability. He continues to lie. And I refuse to give that man any attention on this channel beyond this live stream because it's just not, it's not worth it. He is a virus to the space. Okay, this has been proven. But because Kevin O'Leary tied himself to FTX, he now feels like he needs to defend that organization and shift the blame to Binance, where there should be no blame on Binance whatsoever. It's ridiculous. There is no factual information that I have read or reviewed that suggests that Binance is to blame for what happened. This was absolutely, completely ridiculous activity by SBF. And the unfortunate thing is that this has nothing to do, well, I shouldn't say it has nothing to do. It has less to do with the digital asset space, okay? And it has more to do with the shady practices of someone that could have taken place in the traditional financial space, right? And one could also argue that a lot of the regulation that many prominent players, players with integrity in this space have been calling for, hasn't been instilled, that has led to a lot of this, okay? And it's been a shitty situation. But I want everyone to realize here that Kevin O'Leary is, I view him as a snake in the grass here. This guy, he is very deceiving, and he has a reputation to uphold and protect, and that's why he's acting the way he has. Think about it. When he endorsed cryptocurrency, when he endorsed Bitcoin and Ethereum, I wasn't cheering his name. I go back on, have I ever said, oh, Kevin O'Leary, thank God Kevin O'Leary's in this space? But other people did, because he's this real rich, prominent guy in the space. And I think what we should do as a community is we should be very careful who we allow into this space to give endorsement to. This should be very open-ended. We aren't here to control people or control whatever. We're not. That's not what I'm endorsing. But what I'm saying is who you choose to endorse and who you choose to put on a pedestal and say this person is an outstanding person and we should look up to this person, you better be real careful about who you do that to. Just because someone has a lot of money and a lot of power and persuasion doesn't make them a good endorsement for the community. Kevin O'Leary is a perfect example of that. It's a shame that so much attention was given to him once he came into the space, because now that things have fallen apart within an exchange, he's being given the microphone to speak illy about an exchange that was not the instigator or the reason that the exchange failed. It was not. If that exchange was well financially backed and was not engaging in extremely risky behavior, it never would have collapsed the way it did. That's just a fact. You can't argue that. So it's just a shame to see what's going on. So with that being said, let's get into some comments here, and I have one last topic I want to get into with you guys. What does everybody have going on for happy hour this evening? No one said anything except I saw one comment for water. Brian, I've had a few coworkers that did actuarial science undergrad, but no professional actuaries. Yeah, let me just tell you that everybody's journey was different as an actuary, but I can tell you, and I don't regret a second of it, because I love education and I love. That's why I'm here today. I mean, let me tell you what I'm going to say. I spent all of my 20s taking my exams. I got my associateship very quickly, but then for certain reasons, it took me a long time to get my FSA, my fellowship. So I spent all my 20s getting those designations, so I can appreciate all the fucking hard work it takes. But being here today is a testament to how much I love education, because as soon as I was done doing the actuarial thing, I was like, what the hell can I learn? What do I, working a 9 to 5 every day isn't enough for me. That's not enough. I want to learn more. I want to do, I don't know. I just want to fill my time with educational stuff. So that's when I got into TA stuff, technical analysis. So, and I started getting into that in 2016. My wife is in accounting and she hates it too. So tax harvesting is great, but I hear that it is going away next year. The IRS will soon be revising a lot of stuff for crypto. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I've been hearing that for a little bit now. So I would take advantage of tax loss harvesting. This year, I don't plan to take advantage of any tax loss harvesting. I don't think I'm going to. I'll revisit it at least before the end of the year. I don't think I'm planning to, but last year it benefited me. I mean, I took a decent loss on sushi, which helped to offset a lot of taxable gains that I had. So it did help me in that respect. Yeah, Elizabeth Warren, I just, sometimes I'm probably a little too vulgar with some of this stuff. I should probably cut down on that, honestly. But I get really passionate, and then just shit starts coming out of my mouth, and I can't stand her. So I said this earlier, but what's up, Brendan? Yeah, I just get very emotional and passionate. I don't know, DCF. I've seen that a few times with the inappropriate people posting stuff on here. I don't know how they find my channel. I have no idea. I'm imagining other channels have the same bullshit going on. So I know I was at least on one channel where I saw the same shit going on. But anyway, let's get into the last subject before we take a look at a chart here, and that is the Federal Reserve. So here's what I wanted to comment on the Federal Reserve. And it's interesting the way I thought, the way I had this thumbnail phrase. So crypto tax harvesting, Kevin O'Leary, and is the Fed fucking us? But Kevin O'Leary fucking us is in the same font intentionally because his commentary is not helping the space with Binance. So I don't know if you picked up on that, but hopefully now it makes sense. And is the Fed fucking us? What I would say is this. I actually didn't have too many comments to make here. So what I meant by this is, and I am out of my mystery drink. So many people are fixated. So many people are fixated on the news events. And they're so fixated on these Federal Reserve minutes, okay? It should come as no shock. I just said this to someone on Instagram that I've been messaging with, that I interact with here or there. Hey, maybe someday there'll be a special guest on this channel. Someone who's very passionate as well about the financial space. I said it came as no shock that the Federal Reserve, the Federal Chairman Powell, came out, and even though inflation was below expectations, his general tone was still conservative in nature. Okay, it was not surprising to me. And the market reacts and all this stuff. What I would say to you guys is, and please try to really listen to what I'm about to say. This would be 7 years plus ago. 6 years? 6 years now. I would say 7+ years ago, I didn't even know what a candlestick was. Okay? And everything I paid attention to was with the fundamentals. I really want you to take a moment to understand that even if you don't understand technical analysis, you have to respect it. It exists for a reason. All technical analysis is it's data plotted on a chart, and based on a historical context, we can infer different things about it. Whatever the Federal Reserve, listen to what I'm about to say. Whatever the Federal Reserve is going to say and how humans are going to respond to that, I say that like I'm an alien. However people are going to respond to that, that is baked into the chart. All of that human emotion is baked into the chart. So that's why I try to tell you guys, try to evolve your line of thinking and at least give it some thought if you don't think this way. That's why I try to tell you guys to pay less attention to the news and pay more attention to the charts. This is coming from a data-driven analyst. I'm an actuary, okay? I deal with numbers all day. I deal with factual information and charts, okay? This is also coming from someone who is a fundamentalist when it came to investing prior to understanding technical analysis. Try to open up your mind, if it's not open already, to the possibility that while people love to tie a story to it. They need to have a narrative for why this happened right here, price dropped or price increased. They need a story. It's all in the charts. People, it's natural to need to have a story. Oh, the Federal Reserve came out and they were more conservative in nature with their talking points. But the reality is everything is here in the chart, which should tell you a likelihood for price direction. That's what I want you guys to open up your mind to. The Federal Reserve is not fucking us over. They're not. In most senses. In some senses, they are fucking us over because I would argue they're very reactive. Listen to this. The Federal Reserve is very reactive in nature versus being proactive, meaning they react to the moment, something is going on, and then they react to it, versus they're anticipating something and they're proactive and they're in front of it. Yes, in that way they are fucking us over. And I think they raised interest rates way too late and way too heavy, okay? And now what's going to happen is they're going to loosen way too late and they're going to try to drastically decrease interest rates when we're already in a massive, massive recession. And the other thing I want to say real quick before we get into a chart here, you think not enough people have capitulated yet. We'll see. It's debatable. It's subjective. The other thing I wanted to speak to real quick is I lost my train of thought. How many times has that happened on the live stream? Wow. I need to get my head checked. Maybe that thought will get back to me. But I know what I was going to say. So the other thing I'd like to bring up, and I was actually on a fire chat conversation this evening for continuing education credits at work, and the conversation actually annoyed me, and I left 3/4 of the meeting through because I thought it was all just, I didn't think it was a very value-added discussion. I thought that it was just, anyway. No one is acknowledging the fact that we're in a recession. Do you guys understand that we're in a recession? Everyone keeps saying if we enter a recession in 2023. I was in that meeting today, and the first poll, and I was already irritated after the very first question they asked in this poll. Do you think that we're going to enter a recession in 2023? I was like, Jesus Christ. Why? And I put this in the comments. Why is no one acknowledging we're in a fucking recession right now? We're in a recession, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a technical recession. No one is saying this. The Federal Reserve does not acknowledge this. For decades, we have acknowledged on the same basis what dictates a technical recession. And yet, for some fucking reason, no one's acknowledging we're in a recession right now. We are in a recession. It blows my mind that no one acknowledges this. Let's get off this conversation. Let's get into the fucking charts. I am thinking the same thing. We'll see. I mean, maybe there's another capitulatory event, but I would lean towards new all-time highs in 2023 still. So what I wanted to do something a little different. I'm actually just going to look at one chart. I don't really know how much time we're going to have for Q&A because, we're already almost at an hour. I'm trying to keep these live streams short. So I might take like one charting question. But I wanted to look at the Bitcoin chart with a fresh perspective, okay? This is an uncharted. I have not charted anything on this chart. And I want to take a look at with you guys. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at Bitcoin and we're going to give an honest perspective on what I see. And I haven't looked at this ahead of this video, so maybe I'll come to some new conclusions with you. I have no idea. But we're going to start from a smaller time frame, and we're going to build our way up to a higher time frame. So right now, we're on a 4-hour chart. This is a 4-hour chart. And for your understanding here, the blue line is the 10 simple moving average. The purple line is the 50 simple moving average. And the pink line is I was going to make a joke, but that would be so inappropriate. Wow. Just my mind sometimes, I might be how old I am, but sometimes I'm like a 16-year-old kid. The pink line is the 200 simple moving average. The shit that goes through my head sometimes. So the first thing I want you to understand is that we have a general uptrend that has not been broken. We have touches here, right? So we could come all the way down to here. We could come all the way, depending when price drops, we could come all the way down to approximately 17,100. We're still in an uptrend, which is good to see. Okay, so I don't want to lose sight of that. We also have a golden cross. Okay, the 50 is crossing above the 200 simple moving average. The 200 is moving up. The 50 is moving up, the 10's curling down. That's fine. It's a shorter term moving average. But the more important thing is the 50 is crossed above. Let's get the 10 off, actually. I don't want to get. Let's just focus on the 50 and 200. So the 50 has crossed above the 200, which is good to see. Good to see. So ideally, what would I want to see on the 4-hour chart? I want to see this 200 simple moving average hold and the 50 to stay above it. So for me, we could wick all the way down to 16,800. I could care less. But I want to stay above that level and continue to move up. Price indicators on the 40, or excuse me, on the 4-hour. RSI, nothing special there. Nothing special. No, I don't see anything special. Let's look at the MACD. We got to cross down. Stochastic RSI is crossed down. All right, let's go to a 12-hour. Let's go to a 12-hour. Now, you guys know the importance of the 12-hour and how much I've spoken to that. Now, what's encouraging, okay, this is good. I haven't looked at this chart in a little while. What's encouraging with the 12-hour, let's talk about this. Let's get this line off. Now, this line's holding, but let's get this off for now. This is what I want to focus on for the 12-hour. First off, let's actually look at the price indicators real quick. Let's do something a little different. RSI has continued moving up. We have no negative divergence. The MACD is healthy. Look at the MACD. It's healthy. Stochastic RSI has crossed down, but we're still in a healthy range above 20, so good to see. But what do you think I'm going to point out to you that's really good to see on this chart? The price action is above the 50 simple moving average. Okay, so the 50 simple moving average for the time being has acted as support. Here, again, now it's interesting, price confluence, I want price to stay around 16.8 to 16.9. It's interesting, I just said that on the 4-hour, right? I want price to stay above this 50. Now, the more price stays up in this area, it's going to cause the 50 to continue curling up. Now, why is that important, guys? I've spoken to this so many fucking times on this channel. We want to see a golden cross on the 12-hour because historically, if this can cross up here, and the 200 flattens out, if the 200 flattens out and begins to curl up, and now the 50 is curling up and the 200 is curling up, that is the type of price action we want to see on the 12-hour because historically what that lends itself to is an increased probability, a much higher increased probability that we will see much higher sustained price action to the upside. And that bullish momentum from the 12-hour will bleed over into higher time frames like the 1-day, the 3-day, the 1 week, and we'll start to get golden crosses on all those other time frames. So keep that in mind. I like what I'm seeing on the 12-hour. 12-hour, let's stay above the 50 simple moving average. Keep it simple. This 200 right up here, this is going to act as resistance until we get up above it and close above it and stay above it and continue moving up. So very encouraging to see on the 12-hour. Let's go to the, I'm actually not going to, well, we'll go to the daily. We'll go to the daily real quick. Daily, we have not gotten above, so we have a positive cross of the MACD. That's good to see. Stochastic RSI is negative cross, but well above 20. Good to see. RSI is increasing in value, which is good to see. Let me see. RSI, let me see something real quick. Hopefully this isn't happening, but if it's happening, we're going to discover it together. I hope there isn't a rising wedge. That's what I'm looking for. No, there isn't. Okay. I wanted to see if there was a rising wedge, which would be bearish on the RSI, but I don't see that. This is actually really fun because I haven't looked at this ahead of the channel, so it's fun to look at this with you guys live. I mean, you're getting to see how I chart shit and look at it because I haven't looked at this ahead of the channel or ahead of the live stream. Now, on the daily, what's encouraging are a lot of these price indicators. I like to see where we're at. The RSI is at a very healthy state. But what is bearish is that we can't sustain price action above the 50 and the 200 or 50 are slanting down. You see how the 50 moving average is moving down and the 200 is moving up? let me show you what we need to see from price, okay? The general story here on the Bitcoin daily chart is we need price action to move above the 50, get above the 200, and stay above the 200, okay, and consolidate a little. Now, what that's going to allow us to do, okay, eventually the 50 now, okay, it's only 50 simple moving averages, only based on the prior 50 candlesticks. This is going to flatten and curl up. 200 is going to begin to flatten and eventually start to gradually curl up. That's what we want to see. So the daily, the first thing to look for on the daily is, can we start to get closes right in this area? Right in between, we're actually going to call it about 18,000 all the way up to like 20,000. Let's start to get price action up into the 18 to 20,000. That's going to cause that picture that I just painted to occur. Let's go, we're just going to jump to the weekly. The weekly, oof, we don't want to get a death cross here. We ever get a death cross? We've never had a death cross in history. Of course, we have limited price data. We don't want a death cross. For me personally, and again, guys, I've spoken to this, we got this mega bullish divergence going on. The RSI is increasing in value. See, let's get off these price indicators. Let's actually not delete them because that'll delete everything. You see how the RSI is increasing in value, okay? We're moving up. I did a whole video on this, okay? But yet price action is going down, okay? That is bullish divergence. It doesn't have to play out, but it has a statistically higher likelihood, okay? It's all about statistics when reading charts and probabilities. It has a statistically higher likelihood of playing out to the upside. We also, I thought we had a falling wedge, didn't we? Or am I thinking of the wrong chart? You look at so many charts, you get confused. Yeah, we sort of have a falling wedge here. Of course, you could also say this is a bear pennant as well, but we have bullish divergence, so I lean bullish. Now, what do I ultimately want to see on this chart? What do you guys think I want to see on this chart? I mean, come on. If you've been following this channel for a long time, we have been broken below the 200 simple moving average for a while now. What do you think I want to see? I want to see price push up into this area and close above here. Really a key area for me, okay? Get above the 200 simple moving average. The key area right now, if we're considering that, is about 24 to 25,000. Price needs to push up all the way to 24 to 25,000. I do not expect in the next 2 weeks before this monthly close for Bitcoin to be up to 24 to 25,000. If that happens, maybe we'll do shots together on one of the happy hours, all right? But I don't anticipate that happening in the next couple weeks. But what we really want to see over the next several weeks, okay, especially if the bullish divergence plays out, maybe we can get a temporary bounce higher. We get rejected by the 200 SMA. We kind of consolidate down here. We form a higher base, and then we begin to push up. Maybe don't pay attention to the time frame. Maybe we begin to push up in like that February, March time frame. Okay, just being realistic. Okay, keep in mind, if we don't get above the 200 SMA until February, March, that doesn't put in jeopardy hitting new all-time highs in 2023. It doesn't. Because if you historically go back in time and look at how much time elapses, like if we look, for instance, I've looked at this with you guys before. If we look at when we started the actual bull run and we topped out, that took 27 days, 27 bars or 189 days. So it took like 6 months. So even if we don't start to push above 24 to 25,000 until like, let's say March, I mean, cripes. Did I say cripes? Who uses the word cripes? I didn't want to use God's name in vain, so I said cripes. Cripes. We could be seeing new all-time highs by the summer of next year. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying that is a very real possibility if we reclaim 24 to 25,000 by March of next year. So we just have to be realistic and patient here. The price is not going to go like this, okay? The price could very well go like this, and then start to really go crazy, okay, into the end of 2023, the second half of 2023. We just have to be patient. So that's what I'm seeing on this chart. I hope that you found it helpful. I will take one TA question because it is getting late and I want to make dinner, quite frankly. So, what questions does everyone have? I will take the first question that drops in the comments here. No more questions after that. And I apologize. I would love to stand here because I'm standing right now. I would love to stand here all day and take all your questions. But one, I'm trying to keep the live stream shorter, okay, based on feedback and based on my own independent thought process here that I'd like them to be shorter. And also, quite frankly, it's almost 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I want to eat. So that's the other item. No TA questions. Well, I'm fine. Brendan, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. All right, if there's no TA questions, I am out. I'm going to eat dinner. So, everyone, I appreciate your viewership. I appreciate you guys tuning in, really. I mean, I wouldn't do this if all you guys didn't participate and express your appreciation and input here. So I hope you appreciated the content. If you did, share it with at least one person. Again, you can find me on Twitter. Don't know if you guys follow me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter, obviously YouTube. You can find me on TradingView as well as Instagram. One word, Crypto Bull God. It's right here, Crypto Bull God. One word. All right. Until next time, spread awareness and carry the education forward. Take care, guys. Oh, and I'm going to have another TA video out by Friday or Saturday, so look out for that. Take care, guys.